You know, so many people, Sarome, do not have space for a full garden, and these miniature landscapes just intrigue me. How do you get started in creating such a beautiful container?
Well, first is choosing the container that you like. And there's a world of options from ceramic to these enamel containers that I love finding at flea markets and plastic containers. Always remember the weight of the container after you add soil. So if you aren't able to move it, then going with one of these lesser weight containers will work so much better for you.
Yes, so you can shift it around and use it where you'd like at times.
Yes, and they can go out on balconies, patios, or anything like that. So they're very versatile for small spaces.
What a wonderful accent piece.
So yes, getting started, a couple pieces of material that you need: roof flashing.
Roof flashing?
Roof flashing that will give you a nice edge. You can cut it with scissors, it's easy to bend. You need some concrete and some gravel.
Okay.
So concrete, it sounds odd adding it in, but I find that adding that will help the ground cover not grow up through your pathways or anything that you decide to add in.
Any of your hardscapes.
So, exactly. Yes. So quickly, I'm just going to show you on this container. I've already got flashing cut. All I'm going to do is just remove soil.
Okay, move your hand so people can see.
Oh.
Thank you.
I am
so
sorry.
You've taken out some of the soil to make it a little deeper.
Exactly. Then that way you can add in your concrete.
Is that a Sakrete or a concrete mix?
It's a Sakrete.
Okay, so it sets up pretty quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
And actually I should have added in the gravel first, but we're moving pretty quick.
I love how you're scooping that out so nicely.
And handy little paintbrush, you can brush this in.
Okay, to get it level.
Then that will be set.
And then the magic stuff.
Yes, you just spray it until the water starts puddling on top.
And it'll seep in
and
it
will seep in. Or if you were my son and he was playing with this, you would be the wet one. So this will get you to this step.
Okay.
So now it is choosing your trees. When you lay everything out, always remember where you want your tree, because quickly the space disappears.
Oh,
and then if you add the tree in later, the space is already gone.
So have you pre-thought where plants are going to go in your mind?
Yes,
sort of a
in my mind I've already have an idea of what I want and where I want things. So that just kind of helps move things along.
So we're putting in our tree, which is our taller canopy in a landscape.
And this is parts that people cringe, but what I am trying to do here is actually get these roots separated down to the root flare.
To the root flare of the tree itself.
Exactly. And containerized plants, a lot of people don't realize, but sometimes the soil just get a little too high and your trees will start suffering later. So you want to get down to that root flare before you plant it.
Where do you get your plants from?
My trees I actually order in from Oregon, but local nurseries you can usually find a selection of little starter trees. Always remember to read the tag. Just because it's in a small container doesn't mean that it's going to be a small plant. So do your research and look at the variety you have chosen.
Okay, so you've patted that in pretty well.
I have patted that in, and I can move on to this guy. Same thing.
That's a little juniper before, and now we have a little Chamaecyparis or Hinoki cypress that we're putting in. And again, that root flare is where when drawing those trees in kindergarten, it flares out.
Yep, where it flares out. And looking at a tree in nature, you can always see it right above the ground.
Correct.
It's the thing that lawnmowers hate, and you normally trip up on when you're running.
Yes.
But it's very important for the tree.
It's extremely important. It defines really the roots to the shoot, the top to the bottom.
Yes.
So underground and above ground.
So we
there's
can
your smaller tree.
We got this guy in, and then we can move into ground covers.
Oh, you've got a variety here to choose from.
Yes, so ground covers I've chosen, this one's Menther Quinnii.
It's a little mint?
It's a little mint, so if you rub the leaves, you get that nice minty scent.
And I see you are dividing it from the pot. You didn't take the whole container.
No. A lot of these plants, it's easy just to have instant gratification and just start throwing in whole plants, but if you just separate it and just add it in and allow the plant to grow itself, I think it just becomes a nice, healthier plant. And you're not using as many, so you can save on the cost that way.
Right, and it allows itself to settle itself into the landscape.
Yes, and so with the ground covers, these plants I always try to get to grow anywhere from 1/4 of an inch, maybe an inch. But if you just want some depth and definition, then you choose different plant heights.
Okay.
So this would be your lowest.
Kind of like our lawn.
Exactly. So I'll just set
Except
them
like
aside.
so many, we're using a ground cover, as we should. And which plant do we have here going in now?
And this one, again, it's one of my favorites. It's Lizomachia minimatusa.
Oh, our fun little name.
Oh, yes.
People can see just how small that plant really is and why it's called minimatusa.
So again, it's going through just splitting this up and tucking it in, make sure the roots are down.
And although, yes, you're being able to tuck it, I can smell that from here. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's one reason I like using the plant. It's amazing in a garden. Just things become special when you can add more than just plants.
Yes.
So if you get the scent or, different textures, it's more interest than just the flowers themselves.
Well, we're down to just about 3 minutes, so let's move on to our next
layer.
layer.
So now accent plants, and always with accents, this is a Juga chocolate chip.
So this is our shrub layer.
Yes. So these guys can be a little bigger. And even with the accents, I like to keep them under 6 inches or so, just so that it makes it a little more realistic when it comes to your miniature trees. You don't want your accents to grow bigger than your tree.
You want to keep it all in proportion.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of reading to learn about the different plants, or
it's
did you
kind
learn?
of an experiment.
Okay.
I made my first miniature garden maybe 15 years ago. And I just wanted to go ahead and continue to make these and experiment with the miniature trees and dwarf shrubs.
Sounds good.
So now that I have totally made a mess, and this is where the paintbrush comes in handy.
Time to do the hardscape.
Yes. So
our concrete has set.
The concrete is set, and even though you don't have to wait for this to set to do your top layer, I just want to wait until I was pretty close to finished planting in order to put this on.
Make it rain real quick.
So it is coming.
And here's our water.
So we've got water.
And then we have a walkway. I'm already starting to relax in that tiny little space there. I can put myself in that little garden.
So just like that, and then if you ever want to change this and maybe one day you decide you want this to be a stream, you can brush this off, change your covering, and you've totally changed the garden.
Wonderful. Now you have one more element to put in.
And
that's your accent.
Do some accents. This is a more natural garden, so of course we've got to put in some big boulders. And we can do that and partially bury the boulder. It makes it look more natural than just sitting on top.
Yes. Just as they do with Japanese gardens, you always bury part of the rock.
Exactly.
Just don't put it on top. So,
all
Sarome, this is a piece of art.
Thank you very much.
And then, real quick, watering it. Do you just use a light watering can, a mister? How do you?
Just a light watering can. And as far as fertilizing, I fertilize with a natural fertilizer early in the spring, and that's about it.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Some would be for shade, some for sun. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I want to say that's probably the fastest container you've put together, but it's beautiful, and I appreciate you coming and showing us how to do this.
Thank you.